Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. Come on in. Come on in. The Comfort Pod. Something to comfort you or something to discomfort you. Depends on how you look at it. So, obviously, I'm in my car, and this revelation came to me while I was driving. So I figured it would be fitting to record while I was in the car, and I just happened to be driving. And I have the phone propped, so I am not like holding the phone, so you don't have to worry about me trying to handle the phone and drive at the same time. So I'm driving through right now downtown Detroit. So recently, I drive all the time because I drive for work. I'm on the road all day. I have been around these streets of Metro Detroit for over 20 years, so I know a lot of the roads, a lot of the areas, a lot of the neighborhoods. And you're probably familiar with the one that I'm going to make reference to today, I-96 and Telegraph area. Really, I-96 anywhere. I was on the overpass where Telegraph and 96 intersect. I believe that's where I was. And I was on the service drive portion, and it's very wide. Telegraph is a pretty wide road, and so is 96. They're both very wide. So I was on Telegraph, and I was on the overpass. Now, when I look straight ahead, it just looks like I am on a road, a regular road that has a solid foundation. I was stopped at a traffic light on the overpass. And so because I was stopped at the red light and not moving, I was able to look left and right and just observe my surroundings. And when I looked to the left, I saw the whole freeway was under me. Look to the right, freeway under me. So I'm like, man, I am on top of a freeway. The freeway is under me. Cars are just whizzing by under me. And it made me feel a little insecure. Like, man, if this bridge was to give out or whatever, I would just go crashing down into this freeway traffic. And I said, it's a good thing I trust this freeway. I'm glad it's strong and strong enough to hold all these cars. But had I been in motion, I would not have paid attention to what was going on around me in that sense. I wouldn't have thought about the cars that were under me. I wouldn't have thought about anything under me. All I would have been focused on was what's in front of me, which was the road, which appeared strong, secure, and a solid foundation. But on the overpass, that wasn't the case. That wasn't so. There was a hollow opening under me, a whole road under me. And it got me thinking about solid ground. What is solid ground? Because even when we're not driving on an overpass, just even on a regular road, we don't really know what is underneath us. What do the layers of the earth consist of? And you've heard of like sinkholes just randomly opening up, where the earth could just open up. We don't know what hollowness is under us, or is it solid all the way down to the core? I don't believe it is solid all the way down to the core. I believe there are parts of the earth that may be, for the most part, solid, pretty deep, whether deep, solid all the way to the core, maybe not, I don't know. I do know, and I had mentioned this recently on social media, if you're familiar with Southwest Detroit, there are salt mines under the city, and they run deep. When I was in high school, my English teacher, Miss Koss, took us on a field trip to the salt mines, and we went down this rickety elevator. I was only, maybe 14 or 15. I didn't know any better. I didn't even know enough to be afraid as I would be now. But we got in this rickety little elevator. We went so deep into the ground that our ears popped from being so deep. And I didn't even know that was possible. I know that when you get in an airplane and you get to a certain altitude, your ears will pop when you're up that high in a plane. But they also pop when you go so low to the depths of the earth. It's almost like you feel your head could collapse, or you could collapse, or whatever. But that's just because of the air pressure. It changes when you get that deep into the earth. So we were down there, and there were like tunnels and tunnels and tunnels and caves down there. And this was all under the city, where meanwhile people are up above the surface with no idea that all this stuff, a whole city, is underground. And I don't know how strong those walls are, but I think about stuff like that. Like, what if it collapsed? I mean, hopefully it wouldn't, but we trust this earth so much that we don't even think about the possibility of a hollow area in the earth collapsing or giving in or whatever. Even though, you know, in some rare occurrences there are like sinkholes that open up. Even when you drive through like construction sites, sometimes I'll be nosy and look how deep. I'm like, man, that's deep. So that lets me know that there is stuff going on under the city streets, under the neighborhoods. There's like whole tunnels under there, and who knows what else. Now, those salt mines that I told you we explored, they are no longer open to the public. They used to allow tours under there. And I don't know when or why they stopped, but that was back in the 1980s when I went down there. And I'm sure like shortly after that, I believe, is when they stopped allowing the tours. Why, I don't know. And I wonder what they're doing down there with the salt mines, or who, you know what, who freaking knows. It could be anything. You know, I have a wild imagination, so I think all kinds of stuff. But the salt mines, they say, was a formation of just residue from ocean that once covered the state of Michigan. They said Michigan was at once under the sea, and when that sea dried up or evaporated, it left those layers of salt. And I actually had brought a piece of big rock salt home. It was huge, it was heavy. It almost looked like crystal. I grabbed a big piece. It was heavy, but I was determined to take it home. I wish I knew where it was, and I don't think me or my family appreciated it for what it was. And I would imagine that salt, that raw, that pure, would have some sort of healing properties attached to it. I don't know. But anyway, there is salt under there. And I saw it, and I grabbed a piece of it. And they had dug out caves for miles long through the city, which would be under like Southwest Detroit area, where it borders Dearborn, Melvindale, and through there. And one of the guys that was leading the tour, as we drove around, like in this, it was like a golf cart, a long extended golf cart that was like an open bus that he used to drive us through. In our class, we all just sat on it and rode through it. And they had, you know, those helmets that have a light on it because it's dark. There's no electricity down there, but they had run wires and had like stringed lights hanging up, or you would see lights hanging just to provide light, because when you're that deep in the earth, there was no sunlight down there. It was just dark. So they ran lighting down there. And we went so far that, you know, there is where there used to be, and back then there was a White Castle at Dix in Oakwood, a very popular White Castle. Is no longer there, but when we were on the tour, he said we're under where White Castle is, and sometimes you can see grease dripping down the cave walls. Now I know he was joking. I doubt it, but I kind of almost believed him because I was young and naive. I didn't really realize it was a joke, but he was joking. But that was just, you know, illustrating how you can navigate underground under the city, and that there's a mirror path above ground. That was so interesting. I'm getting a little off, but my point today is solid ground. What is solid ground, and when can we know that we're on solid ground? When can we feel secure? And usually we are feeling secure, and that's mainly out of ignorance because we don't know what's under us. And I think that's probably good, because if we really knew what was under us, it would make us paranoid. But it made me feel like, where can I feel safe? Where can I feel it is not possible for the ground to open up or collapse? And really nowhere. Nowhere. I don't think nowhere. The bottom of the ocean. Well, who wants to be down there? Because we can't breathe underwater. And I'm not a swimmer, and we're not amphibious to be underwater like that. So that wouldn't even make me feel secure. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, where is the bottom? Where is solid ground? Where is the place where there is nothing underneath? There isn't. Even this earth floats in space. Earth itself is not even on solid ground. It's a free-floating, well, not free-floating because it revolves on an axis around the sun, but basically it's just like a loose rock that, by the grace of God, spins around. It spins to create gravity so that we don't go flying off of it as it rotates around the sun. That blows me away. And somebody said, and I knew this wasn't true because we would be destroyed, that if the earth lost gravity for 7 seconds, you know how catastrophic that would be if we lost gravity on earth for 7 seconds? 7 seconds would feel like an eternity as we are floating. And even if you grabbed onto something as you lost gravity and started floating, even if you grabbed onto a tree, but then after that 7 seconds was over and you started pulling back down to the earth, boom, you would be injured from the fall, because I think we could float pretty far in 7 seconds, far enough to cause damage when gravity returned and you fell to the ground. So I think it's just amazing that solid ground, I think, is not a physical thing. I think it's a mental thing. It's a mind thing. It's a spiritual, emotional, psychological thing. That's where you find solid ground. It's not in the roads. It's not in the dirt. It's not on the earth's surface, because we don't know what the surface is, because there are layers to it. And there are holes and gaps and openings inside the earth. So what is solid? And even this earth that we're on floats around. It's not even on anything solid. And we're holding on to the idea of it just continuing to spin so that we can stay gravitated to it, and that it would continue to orbit around the sun so the sun can warm us up and we don't freeze to death. There's so much to it. And I know that there is definitely intelligent design. There's no question about that. I would never doubt that, because it's so clear, it's obvious. But anyway, I just wanted to get you thinking, and that may not be comforting. I may have just ruffled some things, but sometimes discomfort is necessary, because discomfort makes us think, rethink, examine, study, get introspective. And when we're looking for solid ground, and solid ground in my mind equates to a sense of security. A sense of security comes from inside. It comes from within. It comes from your mind and your spirit. There is a scripture in the Bible that talks about God placing us on solid ground. What do you think he meant by that? Putting us on solid ground. And I think that's more of a spiritual ground, a mental ground. where our thoughts can be solid, where our mind can be solid and steady, still, able to control our thoughts, managing our thoughts, filtering out the negative thoughts or the destructive thoughts, and keeping them constructive and positive and uplifting. When we are able to regulate how we think, regulate our nervous system, regulate how we feel, that is solid ground. That's how we place our feet on solid ground. I don't think it's our literal feet, because we could be standing anywhere that may or may not be physically solid, but if we can get to a place where we're able to regulate our nervous system, where we're able to regulate our thoughts, then that's solid ground. Because if you can do that, life can be good, because you're able to manage yourself. You're able to manage your feelings, your decisions, and even when things go awry, you can think properly to work your way out of bad or challenging situations. When your mind is good, when you think well, you can think your way out of anything. When your nervous system is well regulated and you can manage your feelings, your thoughts, your actions, that helps you to live a better life, a good life. When you are able to just be calm, be loving, be reasonable, be comfortable, be comforted, that's where we find solid ground. That is solid ground. It's not the roads we drive on. It's not the grass we walk on or the ground that we walk on. We need those things because that's how we get around. I mean, we're not flying. And I don't mean in an airplane. I mean like birds. We rely on it. We walk, whether we're walking or rolling in a wheelchair or on a bike or whatever, a car, whatever, on the road. We need those roads because you can't drive over a torn up road, a road that's not put together, or a road that's got holes in it, because you will damage something. There are some barriers that we just can't break through sometimes, and that's when we have to reroute or take a different road or take a detour or whatever. But I just wanted you to think about solid ground, about what it really is. What is solid ground to you? And I told you what I think it is. What it is for me, it is just being able to regulate your thoughts, being able to regulate your nervous system and your well-being. Because when you can do that, you can heal yourself. You can think yourself better. You can think your way out of predicaments. In your mind is so crucial. I can't think of his name, but he said the highest function of being a human is being able to think. Somebody can put in the comments who said that, and it's on the tip of my tongue, but he said the highest function of a human is that of being able to think. So as long as you got your mind, and of course breath, because if we're not breathing, we ain't thinking. And you need that thinking, you need the oxygen to be in your brain to think properly, because if your brain is deprived of oxygen, even if you're alive, your thoughts are going to be delirious. So thought is the highest human function, next to breathing, which they work together, because in order to think, you got to be breathing. But anyway, just food for thought in the Comfort Pod. What is solid ground? Solid ground, higher ground, all of it. We want to be on higher ground, but then there's times when you need to maybe be on lower ground. I'm not sure for what, but there may be to grab somebody to bring them to higher ground. That's if they want to go, but that's a whole nother discussion. But this has been the Comfort Pod. Thank you for thinking with me. Thank you for letting me share my thoughts. Thank you for going down this rabbit hole with me. This is the Comfort Pod. Have a good one, y'all.